Hi, boys and girls. Miss Belanca back with you again. We are going to continue to talk about story elements. And the reason, again, we're doing this, the purpose is that so when you read a fiction book, you're thinking and trying to understand what is happening in it. That's what good readers do, is they think about what they read. So let's talk about what I want you to set up before we start our story. One of the things that and I know you're talking with your teacher about this too, is we're talking about our story elements. And the first story element we usually talk about is the character. If you can get your dry erase board and just divide it into the 4 squares, and sometimes what I do is I just draw a person, and that tells me that that box is for the character. So just draw a quick stick person. These are just sketches. They're not beautiful pictures. Then that second box, I draw a house, because we know that sometimes the setting of a story is a house. In your third box, you're going to draw the problem. And I usually use an unhappy face for a problem, because a lot of times when you have a problem, it does make you unhappy. So go ahead and do that. And the very last part of your board you're going to need is for your solution. And that's our happy face, because usually when our problems are solved, we're happy about that. So as I'm reading, boys and girls, you can have your board in front of you, and you can be drawing pictures that remind you what the character is, or who the character is, where the setting is, what the problem is, and then how is that problem solved in this story. If you can talk about those 4 elements, it means that you've really understood and thought about what you're reading. If you need a minute to set your board up, you know that you can go down and click the pause button. It's the 2 lines. And then when you're ready, go ahead and click begin. That's usually the triangle on its side. Okay? All right, come back to me when you're done. And I'm going to start. We'll take a look at our new book. I know that in a lot of classrooms, we have talked about our author, Mark Brown. And we've read some things from him, and we've learned a little bit about him. I have a story for you, and it is called Arthur's Tooth. Mark Brown is our illustrator and our author. Let's see if, as I read, you can be writing on your board and finding the character, the setting, the problem, and the solution. So let's read a little bit. Well, one of the things, hang on, Miss Belanca's jumping ahead. One of the things that I always want to do is, and we've talked about this before, I always need to look at the cover and the title. I know the title is Arthur's Tooth, and I see that his finger is kind of pointing. I'm using my schema, my background knowledge, to think about, I bet this is probably a story about Arthur losing a tooth. Let's see if, as I read, I'm right. Finally, Arthur had a loose tooth. He wiggled it with his tongue. He wiggled it with his finger. He wiggled it all the time. Boys and girls, I was right. This is going to be a story about Arthur and losing his tooth. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint. I bet if you stop the video, you can fill in your character box, because we've been given a really good clue with the title and now the information from the first page. So as a reader, we kind of think about all that, and I bet you can fill in that first box. Stop and do it if you need to. Come back to the video when you're ready. One afternoon, while Arthur was wiggling his tooth during math, he heard a loud scream. Francine jumped up. My tooth just fell out on my desk, she cried. Class, how many of you have lost a tooth? Asked Mr. Marco. Everyone but Arthur raised his hand. Ooh, I'm also going to look at these pictures, because pictures help readers decide how characters are thinking and how they're feeling. When I see someone doing this, I know that Arthur is definitely not happy about this. Think about if that's information you need to add to your board. When Arthur got home, he didn't want any milk and cookies. What's the matter, Arthur? His mother asked. I'm the only one in my class who still has all his baby teeth, he complained. Don't worry, said his sister, D.W. Before you know it, all your teeth will fall out, and you can get false teeth like Grandma Thora. Arthur persuaded Father to make a special dinner for him: steak, corn on the cob, and peanut brittle. I can't believe one little tooth can take so long to fall out, said Father. Oh, I'm thinking about this, and I bet I know why Arthur wants those foods for dinner. Can you think about that in your head with your reading conversation you had? I have some schema about those foods. They're hard to bite into. The next day, Muffy brought in a whole jar of her teeth for show and tell. I got $2 for each one, she said. One from my dad and one from my mom. I put it all in the bank to earn interest. I'm waiting for my investment to double. Not me, said Francine. I'm spending mine. Boys and girls, if you haven't stopped, go ahead and stop the video. See if you can make some decisions about where the setting of this story takes place. And then, can you figure out the problem? What is the problem so far? Stop the video and you can fill in your pictures on your board. Later, the class saw a movie called Mr. Tooth Decay. Between the ages of 4 and 7, the announcer began, everyone begins to lose their baby teeth. Everyone except Arthur, shouted Francine, and the whole class laughed. Arthur slid down in his seat. He wiggled his tooth as hard as he could. Boy, I'm starting to think about another character in this story, and I'm thinking she's probably not the best friend. I'm not sure if I would want to be friends with Francine. So even though Francine is not a main character, really who the book is about, we still think about those characters. And I'm thinking right now Francine is not being kind. In the cafeteria, Francine practiced her new tricks. Look, she said, I can keep my teeth closed and still drink through a straw. And I can squirt water too. Everybody line up for a squirting contest. Everybody except Arthur. Babies with baby teeth don't squirt water. I was right. I'm not sure I'd want to be friends with this character. By the next day, Arthur was convinced his loose tooth would never fall out. His friends tried to help. Buster brought carrots for Arthur's lunch. Sue Ellen showed Arthur how to put raisins over his teeth to make it look as if some were missing. Boy, now the characters they're talking about now, those are kind characters. They're the characters in the book that I would definitely want to be friends with. The brain invented a special machine. It's a tooth remover, he explained. Just put your head in here. Even Binky Barnes wanted to help. I can knock that tooth out, he said. That night, Arthur spent a lot of time in front of the bathroom mirror. He got up very early the next morning to wiggle his tooth again. See how much looser it is, he told his parents. That's it, said his mother. You need professional help. You're going to the dentist today. Boys and girls, check in with your board. Think about, do you have a picture for your character and your setting? And then really you should by now have a picture of your problem, because we know what Arthur's problem is. We don't know whether or how he solves it yet. Going to the dentist? Asked Francine. Boy, do I feel sorry for you. Oh, poor Arthur, look at his face. Again, I can tell Arthur really wants that tooth out, but by looking at his face, I can also tell he's he's afraid of that dentist. He doesn't know that dentists help people. There were other patients waiting to see Dr. Suzio. Sorry, said the nurse, we're running late. Have a seat. Arthur, you were smart to bring a book, said Mother. Finally, it was Arthur's turn. Oh, I wish all my patients were as good as waiting as you are, said the dentist. How old are you now, Arthur? 7, said Arthur, and I still have all my baby teeth. I was 8 before I lost my first tooth. Everyone is different. Really? Said Arthur. Dentist examined Arthur's loose tooth. This one should fall out very soon, he said. Just wait. Arthur got back to school just in time for recess. Still have all your baby teeth? Francine asked. Then you can't be in the game. I'm the tooth fairy. Only people who have lost teeth can play. I had to reread that because it wasn't matching the sounds that I was saying in that word. So good readers, when they see things like that, they reread it. If you're the tooth fairy, said Arthur, I think I'll keep all my teeth. I can wait. He started over to the softball game. Whoever I touch, said Francine, loses a tooth. And she began to flap her arms. The one who loses most wins. Francine twirled around and touched Buster. Then she twirled faster and touched Sue Ellen. Twirling even faster, she slipped and accidentally hit Arthur. Sorry, Arthur, Francine said. But I told you, no babies allowed. Arthur picked up his glasses. It's okay, he said. It's probably the nicest thing you've ever done for me. What do you mean? Asked Francine. Can you stop and think about in your reading conversation you're having in your brain, what do you think just happened? Arthur just smiled. Oh my goodness. I think that's the solution to our problem. So if we look at our characters and you look at your board, really the important character, the main character was Arthur. And the setting really was in a couple of different places, but the important settings, some of this book took place at Arthur's house, and then some of this book took place at school. And sometimes settings will change as books go on, and that's fine. Oh, we know what our problem is. Arthur had not lost a tooth, and he was feeling kind of bad because a lot of his friends did. The solution comes at the very end of the book. Well, during playing a game, Francine accidentally hits him in the mouth and his tooth finally falls out. Check your board to see if you have some pictures that match what we just went through. All right. Happy reading, boys and girls.